What's going on, Vaqueros? Welcome back to the channel, and I hope you guys are enjoying Season 2 thus far and playing on Fortune's Keep. Now, today we have a lot to go over because there were a bunch of shotgun nerfs to the shotguns in Warzone. Not just the Riveter and Haymaker, oh no, even the MX Guardian, the Lockwood 300, even the Lockwood 680, our beloved pump action. So today I'm going to go over everything that I could find, share with you guys the new numbers, kind of give my overall thoughts, and as always, timestamps will be in the description below if you want to hop to a specific part of the video. So if we start from the top of this list and work our way down, we're going to go with the 680 first. Now, this thing got a bit of a rework in a few different ways that wasn't mentioned here, but basically we had mid damage reduced to 30, down from 44 per pellet. So instead of 176 damage total, we now deal only 120. So pretty significant damage nerf there. And also for the defender heavy long barrel, the sprint to fire penalty now is 30% rather than just 8%. So that's a pretty significant jump up in its sprint to fire speed. So it's going to feel a lot slower when you're trying to get that first shot off after sprinting. So now if we talk specific ranges, first of all, the pre-nerf 2-shot kill range, which was so good with this gun, with the base Lockwood 680, was out to about 8.5 meters. The new 2-shot kill range for this shotgun is only out to about 6.8. So there's a pretty big adjustment to its range there. Now, I do want to point out, before this update, it seems like the range that you could get 200 damage for this shotgun, which was a combination of its max damage range and its first drop off, was only out to about 6 meters, it felt like. I didn't have the exact number, but now I'm getting it out to about 6.8 meters where you get 200 damage total. So I could be wrong, but it seems like this number got buffed up a little bit. So the first range, or rather that range you can deal 200 damage, is out to a little bit further. That's just what it seems to me. Again, I don't have the exact number pre-patch, but this is actually pretty good and not really anything to scoff at, because dealing 200 damage per shot that far, I mean, that's double what the other pump actions can do. So that's really strong still. So we do have that potential silver lining to this update. Again, I can't confirm it was buffed, but it definitely feels like it was, and it seems like it is a little bit longer than what I can remember. But also, from about 6.8 meters to about 10.4, that is where that damage reduction kicks in. You only deal 120 damage per shot, not 176, so you'll take 3 shots from 6.8 to 10.4 meters, and then its minimum damage range, which is now 10.4 meters, this seems like it was reduced, because prior to this update, it seems like it was about 16.5 based on the advanced stats that I had. So this got a pretty significant reduction to its minimum damage range. And also, the damage you deal per shot in this range is 68 damage per shot. To give you an idea, that is not a 2-shot, a 3-shot, or even a 4-shot kill. That is a 5-shot kill. So if you are past 10 meters with this thing, you are going to take 5 shots to kill with perfectly placed shots. That is incredibly bad. I mean, that's insanely bad. You do not want to be shooting people that far with this thing. And really, this nerf, while it's still a great shotgun, was really focused on getting its potential at ranges really reduced, and basically got its nuts cut off in that department, because like I said, you don't want to be caught dead with this thing past 10 meters. Now, as to what barrel you should be using, there are 2 that you should really be using, and that's the Bryson Hammer Forged long barrel, and then the one that we all use, the one that we know and love, the Defender heavy barrel. Now, of course, the big one, the Defender heavy barrel, gives you 10 pellets. The one that's only the Hammer Forged long one gives you 6, the base default pellet count. But with this longer barrel, your 2-shot range is out to about 8.5 meters, to basically where it was before the nerf, and with the 10 pellet barrel, it's out to 7.9. So if you want to have a little bit better mobility and aim down sight speed, and a little bit less of a penalty to your sprint to fire speed, definitely try the Hammer Forged long barrel out. Yes, it doesn't have 10 pellets, but it can still work wonders. And honestly, with the Lockwood Defender heavy barrel, the sprint to fire speed penalty didn't feel too bad in Warzone, simply because I'm sliding around quite a bit and I'm always kind of pacing my shots a little bit, so it didn't really affect me too much. But I can see this being definitely significant, especially for multiplayer. But in Warzone in particular, since you're moving around and jumping and you have to get 2 shots out, it doesn't feel nearly as bad. But yes, this shotgun, it's still amazing. It mainly just got really cut off at ranges. So like, if you're, again, past 10 meters, you do not want to be caught dead with this thing. You really got to push close. And the fact that you can deal 200 damage out to almost 7 meters with this thing, again, that's really good. To give you perspective, the Bryson 800 basically only does this out to about 3.4-ish meters or so, and that's basically double that. So to give you some perspective, of course. So if you're looking for a different way to run this thing, you could use the build I always show off, but take off the Brew and Bastion grip and instead put on the Kimura Ryle 33 laser to get a good sprint to fire speed bonus. But if you do want to swap to the other barrel, you can basically use the same loadout you had before. It just swap the barrel to the Bryson Hammer Forged long barrel, and maybe you could swap out that Brew and Bastion angled grip for something like that skeletonized X-ray guard that you can get for a little bit better movement speed. So moving on from the Lockwood 680, I feel like I talked a lot about that one. We have the Haymaker, which basically got reduction to some of its ranges. Now basically this one wasn't as bad as people might think because its damage wasn't reduced at all. I can confirm it still does the same damage. You're still getting ridiculously good time to kills with these things. It's just that the ranges aren't nearly as good. So here's a new damage profile out to about 4.1 meters. That's your new 3-shot. And of course, if you stack that with the heavy barrel or the long barrel, it's going to be even better. So no, this shotgun didn't get nerfed into the ground. It's still very effective. It's still very strong. So take with that what you will. Now the Riveter also caught a nerf, but again, mainly to its ranges. Now the base gun did get a nerf to its range, which I don't really care because this thing was terrible with the base ammo. I do not recommend using it without anything like Incendiary. But Incendiary also caught a nerf on this thing, and again, the damage in particular didn't change at all. It's just the ranges. So you're still getting an insane time to kill up close of about 300 milliseconds and then 450 in the next range. And these ranges extend out to about 2.5 meters now and 3.3. So honestly, this is still an amazing shotgun. If you're using that canted laser build I showed you in my last video, I highly encourage you guys to try it out because it's still a menace and still very, very good. So for the Riveter and Haymaker, yes, they did get nerfs, but they're not nearly as bad as people might think. And even though they're not using the shotgun anymore, trust me, it's still great. It's still really good, and they're still really great shotguns. You just have to be much more up close now, which of course is how a shotgun should be. Next up, we're taking a look at some ones that were kind of weird. The Bryson 890, which no one really uses, had its mid damage range reduced to about 10.4 meters down from 13.2. Not anything crazy. Probably not going to affect how it feels when you use it because honestly, you shouldn't be using it at that range anyway. Now we have also the KV Broadside, which actually got a buff. They decreased its sprint to fire time to 189 milliseconds down from 210, and also decreased the aim down sight time to 240 down from 330, which is pretty significant. Now this isn't crazy, but this might make your slug builds feel just a little bit better. So I'm curious how that's going to feel, and I'll definitely make a separate video on that. Then we also have the Lockwood 300, which also, to point out, the dual trigger is still not available in Warzone, so no, we can't have that yet. But also, Dragon's Breath was reduced on this thing. Finally, this thing was finally able to catch a nerf. Not that I wanted it to, but I always thought it was really good, really strong in solos, and now they finally caught on to it and they nerfed it. I don't really know what prompted it. Maybe this is some tuning that they did in preparation for the dual trigger, but basically your 2-shot with the base gun with Dragon's Breath now is out to about 5.3 meters, down from 7.1. So yeah, that's kind of a womp womp moment, but it's still a great shotgun, just much less forgiving at range. Then we have the MX Guardian. I don't know who really used it, but I'm gonna be devil's advocate here. I know the devs have the data, so they probably made this for a certain reason. I just don't really know what. But basically, you're just getting a little bit less range on this gun with Dragon's Breath, which is basically the burst version of this gun, which in my opinion is the best way to go. So it's still going to be a great shotgun. It's just that it's not going to be nearly as strong up close, and now its ranges are going to be a little bit more neutered. So now we got all the changes I could find thus far out of the way. There could be some more hidden stealth changes, but I'll dig into them and I'll make videos as I find them. But honestly, my overall thoughts, seeing the patch notes was a little scary because this was pretty significant across the board for most of the shotguns, but I'm here to tell you that the Lockwood 680, still an amazing pump action. Just not nearly as good as it was at ranges, but up close where you should be using this thing, it's still a damn menace to behold, and it's just so good still. It's just that further out, it's not going to be nearly as good, so you have to be very close with it. Also, the Haymaker and the Riveter, not as good as they were at ranges, but they're still very good. They didn't have their damages changed, which is all that I could really ask for, and they have such good damage profiles that even though their range is short, they make up for it. And I'm telling you, that Riveter with the canted laser, that build is still going to be really solid. As for the other changes, I don't really know why they happened. Again, I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm sure they made these changes for a reason, but seeing a nerf to the Lockwood 300 that's already pretty nerfed with only 2 shots and limited range like that and being very slow and awkward is kind of strange. Seeing the MX Guardian, a gun that really wasn't touched much with probably a 0.01 pick rate, get a nerf like that is also kind of strange. But again, trying to be devil's advocate here, I'm sure they made these for a reason. But honestly, it's not going to affect you much if you're just using the Mono War for 3 shotguns, because let's be honest, they're still the best of the bunch by far. So that's pretty much going to do it for this video, guys. I know it was a little bit longer than usual. I know I was talking very fast. Hopefully the timestamps below helped you out. But now I just want to know below in the comments, what do you guys think about this patch? Were you really excited to see some of these changes? Were you really disappointed to see how many nerfs the shotguns got, even for ones that nobody uses? And with all that being said, guys, I will see you in the next video.